Schwarzman is an American financier and business magnate who is well known for his ferocious, straight-talking style. He donated about $100 million for the Tsinghua project and has vowed to raise funds all over the world to ensure that the endowment will eventually reach $400 million in total. I caught up with him recently on the sideline of the China Development Forum held in Beijing. He spoke about the motives behind the project, which is one of his biggest philanthropic efforts to ever be undertaken in this country, and why he felt it was crucial that China should be the backdrop.
Change is always an interesting thing in any culture. Change in the academic world, no matter where you are, is always slow. And making change in China has challenges, particularly for outsiders.
It's almost like a pregnancy, isn't it? To establish the Schwarzman Scholarship and to see eventually the first batch of students being selected.
Yes, well, we selected the first group of students in January, and they're really phenomenal on a world scale. And we had one of the most selective programs in the world. Only 3.7% of the students who applied were accepted, and of the ones we made offers to, we got 95% of them. Now, 3.7% is like really twice as selective as Harvard and Yale and the great universities around the world.
Did you ever talk to some of them?
Of course.
During the whole process preparing for this Schwarzman Scholarship, and which is the most challenging part?
Geez, every piece of this is a challenge. Actually, you know, when we started this, I happened to be doing a panel for one of the newspapers in the United States, and there was somebody sitting in the room with me before we went on. And I asked him for $25 million for this non-existent program, and he just looked at me, and you know, I explained it to him. Just by luck, he had had experience in China, and he said, "Fine, I'll give you $10 million, and if you could really make it work well, maybe I'll give you the 25." I thought it was really easy, but as it's worked out, I sort of only go 1 for 17, which is a terrible percentage. In my commercial life, it's almost 100% when we ask people, you know, to invest with us, because we have a very good record. So it's 1 for 17. So it's like going back to the start of my company when no one knew us. So that was one experience.
Blackstone, what you're doing has nothing to do really with education, even though you were doing sporadic projects with American universities, but having international students coming to a Chinese university and offering almost like a Rhodes Scholarship by a private individual is something amazing.
Well, I came up with the idea because the Tsinghua people wanted me to do something of a financial nature, and I only wanted to do something that I thought would be consequential and important to the world. And what I saw was increasing populism and frustration in the developed world. And typically that creates the opportunity for politicians to direct anger at someone, whether it's wealthy people, whether it's financial people, or whether it's countries, anyone that the populations feel is winning the game. And I believe that ultimately that would be directed against China. And since the year 1500, there have been 15 times when you've had a challenger country challenging the incumbent power. In this case, the challenger is China. The incumbent power is the United States. Historically, in 12 of those 15 times, there have been wars between the challengers and the incumbents. And that is an impossible scenario to happen in the modern world. So I believed that that was a problem I wanted to address. And the way to address it I looked at the Rhodes Scholarship and said, if we can attract remarkable people from all around the world to come to China and through the relationships at Tsinghua, meet the leaders of the country, get mentors from China of famous people in the students' area of study, take them on trips around the country, plus have their academics and get a master's degree, that this type of unique exposure would create a cadre of 200 students a year, of which about 45% would be from the United States, 20 from China, and 35% from the rest of the world. So these people can understand China and go back to their countries where they'll become leaders. And there'll be 10,000 of these students over a long period of time in steady state who become leaders of the world.
The program will do much to deepen understanding between China and Western countries. Steve Allen Schwarzman, the founder of the program, is the chairman and CEO of the Blackstone Group, a global private equity and financial advisory firm. After graduating from Harvard Business School, Schwarzman started working at the investment bank Lehman Brothers, where he eventually became the head of the global mergers and acquisition team. In 1985, Schwarzman and his boss, Pete Peterson, founded Blackstone. In 2007, Schwarzman was listed among Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. As of 2015, Forbes ranked Schwarzman 100th on its World's Billionaires list. Schwarzman has earned a reputation as a donor. In 2008, Schwarzman contributed $100 million toward the expansion of the New York Public Library. In 2015, Schwarzman contributed $150 million to fund a campus center at Yale University. As a business magnate, Schwarzman is known for his hands-on work style.
There have been people telling me, off the record of course, that you always have a very hands-on practice. You have an idea about everything and you want them to implement. And that works in your venture capital life, but many wonder, will that work in the educational front, in which you are not an expert, or at least to begin with?
One thing in life that's important is knowing what you don't know. And I am very hands-on because when I have a vision, I like to work with people around to make that vision occur. However, when I don't know what to do in a certain area, I don't invent it. I go to people who are terrific, which is why we assembled a group of 23 educators from around the world, ranging from the president of Yale and the head of Oxford and professors from Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Stanford and a lot of other major universities to help with that element of things. Experiment.
How would you compare your project, for example, the Schwarzman Scholars, with what some of the others have been doing, billionaires so-called, Bill Gates, for example, with his foundation and his clean energy initiatives and some of the others? How would you compare what you are enthusiastic about this project with theirs?
Well, geez, everybody does different things. That's one of the wonderful things about people around the world and people who have resources who are trying to solve problems. But one thing I've learned is there are an infinite amount of problems, from educational issues to diseases, to malnutrition, to income inequality. There are all kinds of interesting issues that you can spend time on. And for me, I like creating new things. It's sort of like entrepreneurship used in other areas, and I like to get involved personally. I think some of the things that Bill has done are really amazing. It's the biggest foundation in the world. He's going out to cure malaria and other diseases, and it's a big operation. Ours is not so big. It's myself and some other people, along with a team led by David Lee, and the senior officials at Tsinghua, President Chu, sort of creating something. And so this is like a one-off. And some of the people you've described have put large amounts of money in a foundation and hired a professional staff to address a wide range of issues. I sort of like to deal with one thing at a time.
What do you think after all of this could be your takeaway, personal takeaway, from the very beginning until this moment, working on this project, which started from nothing? And secondly, what do you want the students, the first class of Schwarzman Scholars, take away with them after they finish the curriculum on the campus of Tsinghua?
Well, my takeaway is doing startups in China isn't the easiest thing I've ever tried to do on a global scale. And you know, making change is not as easy as you imagine. But you can do it with the goodwill and judgment and help, you know, from the Tsinghua people who've been terrific. But every organizations have their own built-in thing. So I must say that this was harder. Even raising the money was harder. We're up close to $400 million, and it's done person by person, corporation by corporation. And everyone's of goodwill, but some people have already given a lot to Chinese causes. And so when I talk to them, they say, geez, I would have helped you, but I'm sorry, I've already done this in China. So that was, it was not the easiest thing to do. Looking back, you know, it's a lot easier than being involved. In terms of what I'd like the takeaway to be for these students, is I would like them to be totally excited about China and totally appreciative of the really remarkable things of China and knowledge about the shortfalls. And no place is perfect, no culture, you know, works 100%, even for the people in it. And so, you know, they'll learn about some things that will surprise them. They'll hit some, you know, bumps in the road, but overall, these people will all be fundamentally changed. And what I want is for them to take their place in the world and be able to bring China to the table.
Right.
And if we can do that with people of this quality, with a long-term relationship with China, the world will be a better place.
Will you send your children to the scholarship?
I don't have a choice. I don't select the people. You know, so.
Such a wonderful thing to have you on CCTV News. Great to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Terrific.